Hey everybody, welcome to the Sanctus Forum. I'm Stewart Robb, better known as Mike, and today I want to talk about living beyond your means. But before I explain what I mean by that, I want to show you it, or how I've been trying to do it. So this here is the reading room, because it's a room in our house which we have devoted only to reading. So the books back here are part of that. My guitar is in here, and I'll maybe explain why that is later in the video. But I wanted to show you another room in our house that I use for the Sanctus Forum, and that is over here, and it has to do with the point of this video. So right here, this is what we call the studio. And it's called that because, well, it just sounds better than office. And this is where I work. This is where my wife works. I've invited her in here after her company kicked her out because of Corona. Bunch of binders on the wall. So I've never really liked working in here. It's pretty echoey. The walls are institutionally white, and this section back here has never really come together. That is actually where I wanted to put my amp, but it's so echoey in here, and it's just a little cramped, and I've never really known what to do in here. We had a light attached up there, but that didn't really work. So today I'm going to change that. I've bought some paint, and we'll see what we can do. So this is the color that we're going to paint at least part of this room. The whole room in this color would be a bit sickening. It is actually the inspiration for the color behind the Sanctus logo. I actually like it a lot. It's called Living Coral. You know, I've always liked orange, and this is kind of a very lively orange, and I'm gonna go with this. I'm thinking this back wall and this one here that you can't see, but we'll see. Sorry for the echo. We're gonna try to do something about that. You know, I'm not really a DIY guy, so this may be an example of how not to redo a room. I'm going to put on some lectures here from Dallas Willard from Conversatio Divina, or at least they're available there. I help them a lot. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts. Instead, I've listened to lectures, and many of them from Dallas Willard, which are now available on Conversatio Divina. So check that out. I forgot my notebook. I take notes sort of in an old school way with just a notebook. Always have it with me.
You remember, of course, Jesus standing over against the treasury and watching all the men throwing their big tax-deductible gifts. And this poor widow comes along with 2 mites. And remember, he says, she has given more than all. That's a very important point to remember. God doesn't need the money. We need to give. Not only the cattle, but all the Cadillacs on 1,000 hills belong to God. The hills belong to God, for that matter. All the gold that's in them. God has no shortage of money, energy, power. He's not short on anything. He gives us the privilege of giving, just like he gives us the privilege of praying. Giving and praying are two forms of co-working with him. He was an excellent steward, and he placed it well. Most of it was in the form of giving, but it was not just getting rid of it, it was using it to help people or found and support institutions that would help people.
Okay, so I'm not sure about this. I should have done it. But it still needs to dry, so I guess there's still hope. Okay, so living beyond your means. What do I mean by that? Well, it's a phrase that my mother used to use for people in our community who would use credit cards and other types of credit to live in a way that they really couldn't sustain. And of course they would get in debt, and but they were trying to materially benefit from far more than they actually had the means to provide themselves with. But that's not what I mean, and I know that debt is a terrible problem, and there's this video really isn't going to be about the problem or about the solution, but another way of living beyond your means. See, what my mother had in mind is that we should all live within our means. In other words, we should plan our lives based on what our salary is and what capital we have access to, and that is how we should go about things, and we shouldn't really depend on credit. There are very, very few things that we should be using credit for, and if you're uncertain, it's probably not one of those things. But I came to find out that there's actually another way of living beyond your means. I'll call it the Jesus way. And it was introduced to me by some people that I knew directly, but I found out that they were influenced by people like George Mueller. I just finished a book by George Mueller, very simple, tiny book, won't take a lot of your time, Answers to Prayer. It's an old version. This one's done by Moody Publishers, part of the Moody Classics series. It's very hard to find books by people published in the 19th century or earlier, things that have gone not out of print, but that don't have the copyright on them anymore. It's very difficult to find decent versions of them because of all the print-on-demand options there are out there, but the editing for a sort of a real version, and that's why I went with the Moody Classics, is often much better. George Mueller had this idea that he should start orphanages in the area of Bristol, and he had no means. He was not a wealthy person. He had no means to do this. There were other ways perhaps of going about it, but he decided as a sign to other people that God is real and interacts with us, that he would put everything into these orphanages through the means of praying for it. So he wasn't going to ask anybody directly for money. Now, he did tell people what he was doing, but he never said, can you please give me X amount of pounds sterling in order for me to do these things. And as he had needs, he would bring them to God, and then he would sort of look and wait, and it was a lot of waiting for him, a lot of waiting, and a lot of unanswered prayers. If you think about the fact that he prayed for things to be provided today, and they came maybe 4 days later, and they came maybe 8 days later. You have to consider the amount of times that he prayed and then nothing happened. So this is a way of living beyond your means, that you have a vision, and you understand that vision is something that God also wants, that he is giving you freedom to pursue. And then you say, okay, God, I don't have the means to do this, and you start praying for what you need. Now here's the reason why I wanted to talk about that in here. See, this room is a room which I have prayed that I would be able to, I guess, buy or rent. It's an extra room in our house, but a room, an office that I can use specifically for work purposes. And it's not something that I had in my current budget to do. And actually, most things in this room, or things that I would use in this room, are things that I have prayed for to use for the studio, for Sanctus Forum, for other projects that I'm involved in, work projects, and they are the result of giving, sometimes giving out of my own budget, and a lot of times of other people giving so that we could actually purchase things. I can really say that it's something that we have been able to do and continue to do because we pray for it, and that goes for the paint on the wall as well. Okay, so part 2. It's not quite dry yet, but I don't know if you can see this here, but it's still kind of speckled, and I like usually to try to get away with just one coat, and then I just kind of spot paint, but I feel like this one's actually gonna need 2. So we'll see how this goes. So the thing with living beyond our means is actually that we're living within God's means. And that means that we have to have visions and projects which he's interested in. And then we can count on his support. But I think the key to start is actually just picking something good and praying for it. So God is in favor of good things, and if you're interested in something good coming about for other people, within your own soul, within your own life, then start praying in that direction. It's important to not get such a big idea of what needs to happen, like George Mueller and these orphanages. Some of our projects can be rather lower scale than that, and that's fine. So I wasn't going to paint this corner of the window, but I've changed my mind. It looks like I need to tape a little bit here. The other thing I would say is it's okay that these projects and visions aren't our own. So this idea of George Mueller starting orphanages, you don't have to be the leader of something in order to live beyond your means and pray that God would help it come about. In fact, that's a great way to start, is to work with somebody else's vision, somebody else's project. That's a great way to do it. Of course, you probably will have within your small range of sphere of influence things that you can accomplish with God's means that you can accomplish with your own. And that may be in the context of your work, of your family, even of your hobbies, good things that you want to see done, and you just ask God specifically to help you with that. So the things you're praying for don't even have to be religious things. In fact, it may be better if they aren't, and if they come out of the context of the good things that you want to do within your life, with your family, with your home life, with your work life, with your civil life. That's a great place to live beyond your means. But what you will find that you definitely have to do is wait. Doing things on our own is often something that we can accomplish immediately if we have the means. If we don't have the means, then we have to work for it. We have to look for those means. But when we are trying to work with God's means, we're dealing with a person. And that means that person has their own goals, their own interests. So waiting is just inevitable. And if you want to live beyond your means, then you're just going to have to get used to waiting and being patient. Which is good, because that's a really important virtue to have. The whole idea of this studio and the things that I've been able to put into it, that go into the Sanctus Forum, this is my project in terms of what I'm going to pray for to live beyond my means, to try to accomplish something that's bigger than what I'm able to do on my own. It's slow, and there has been a lot of waiting, but it has been exciting because I'm working with somebody else, God, and I'm seeing things happen that really are beyond me. I'm a writer. I'm not a video guy. This is sort of a step out for me, and I want to see where God takes it. So thanks for watching. Thanks for praying for this, and keep praying for this. Keep praying that we have everything that we need in order to do the videos and podcasts and all that for the Sanctus Forum. And find some way in which you too can live beyond your means by relying on God's means through prayer. See you next time.
Happiest day.